Hi, this is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and today is Thursday, September 29th, 2016. In this video, it'll be a little bit different from some of the other videos that I've done in the past. I wanted to go over some trade ideas, and whereas I normally go over the trade ideas that are uh, either currently official trade ideas or I plan to add soon as official trade ideas, I'm going to go over the watch list that I'm looking at right now. At any given point in time, I have a scratch pad on my desk with various trade ideas. Um, Only typically a small fraction actually get posted on the site as official trade ideas. I wait until those are ready to look like they're poised to trigger an entry. Some of these may be there. Some of these might have recently triggered a long entry. However, I'm being very selective on the trade ideas, and the reason being, I mean, I've harped on this for months now, is this we're in a very well-defined, tight sideways trading range. The market has been, and that just leads to tough. It makes for tough trading. You have stocks in a sideways trading range. We had that little breakout of everything I've already discussed in the market action. We had a breakout that looked like the real deal, and that breakout failed. And this is the S&P 500. I put up a post this morning. If you just take a line, put a horizontal line to where prices, closed yesterday and where we topped today, it goes back all the way to this point. We've been, what did I say, 2.5, yeah, 2.5 months where the market has literally gone nowhere. And on top of that, there are times where the market goes nowhere sideways for months, even longer than 2.5 months. But never have we, or rarely, I should say, rarely have we seen it in such a very tight trading range, that's only, a percent or so to the upside, 1% to the upside, and, 2% to the downside there from that midpoint of the range. So, point being, and I cannot emphasize this enough, this makes for tough swing trading. This makes for false breakouts on both bullish or long and bearish or short trades because every time you have a chart pattern trigger, prices whip back the other way. So it's hard to swing trade or especially trend trade in a sideways market. And I know that's led to a lot of frustration. And the few trade ideas that I have put out recently, we've had an unusually high number of those trades being stopped out. Now, I'm also keeping the stops much more tight than usual because of that. So, bottom line is you guys decide what to take and what not to take. I'll always share my thoughts on a trade. I'll often tell you which ones I'm taking, which ones I'm not. I don't take every trade on the site, although I do take a majority of the trades for many reasons explained before. That's in the FAQ page if you want to know. So there's the market. We have this little triangle pattern, but again, we're well within, we're right back up in the middle of that trading range. And until we have a definitive breakout, definitive being an impulsive breakout, this looked like the real deal, proved not to be. So now that's sort of widened our trading range. In other words, if we look at it here, we need to take out those recent lows or the recent highs, either of these lines here, before the market is likely to give us a clue to where the next move is. And as I mentioned in the post today, this morning, from such tight sideways trading ranges often emerge very powerful directional moves. So one of the reasons I want to share these trade ideas out there, you can replicate the charts on your own. If you're a member of the site, you like the trade idea, just drop me a line in the trading room. Randy, hey, you mentioned XYZ. Can you give an updated chart, or what do you think the price targets on that'll be? So let's dive into the charts. I don't want to spend too much time that, but this is important that there are times where you engage the market aggressively. You use full position sizes. You might allow for wider stops, but right now it's just tough trading. But with that being said, be prepared because any day now, it could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, next week. Probably not going to be next month, sometime between there, but who knows? We'll have the market will pick a direction that it wants to go, and at that point, you want to jump on it because there could be, profits usually come in these streaks that we have, periods of profitable trading that might last for a few weeks to a few months, and then you have where the market consolidates those gains, and we're just in one of those consolidation phases. So let's dive into the charts here. Although not an actual trade idea, I did post USO yesterday. The 60-minute chart here, we have the very clean symmetrical triangle pattern defined by this downtrend line, this uptrend line. I posted when prices were at the bottom of the wedge, we moved up, we broke higher. A lot of that was induced, with the Saudis' comments of some production cuts. However, with that being said, this was a technical pattern already in formation, and so the two aren't just random coincidence. This is how the charts often work, is that usually when you see a breakout, not always, but sometimes it is accompanied by a news headline. And bottom line, the pattern was there. And so you can see we had an upside breakout. And as technical analysis works, that breakout was impulsive. And, you can see impulsive volume so far. So the breakout looks legit. We even took out that 1070 level I mentioned as the next overhead resistance. And I also, this will parlay into the trade ideas. I mentioned a couple solar stocks yesterday. By dumb luck, the one that I put up as official with a very tight stop, already took out that stop. And again, I had a very tight stop on it. That's the reason. Just pause the video to check. I had a price alert if you heard that alarm go off. That was COP. I've had actually a few price alerts go off today. COP, I'm watching for a break of this downtrend line. You can see this is a daily chart going back 2 years. That trend line actually goes off to the left of the chart here. You can see all the way back to the 2014 highs. Pretty well-defined trend line. So there's one to watch, and I don't know if this was on my list to get to. I certainly had a price alert. So it's a pretty big move just to get up to the trend line, and we're right on it right now. Some horizontal resistance, so you might want to hold off on that one, but it's one to keep an eye on. Almost looks like a down-sloping head and shoulders pattern here as well with I'll draw it out for you. You have a possible head here, possible left shoulder, possible right shoulder. Not the best symmetry on the pattern, but either way, and this would be your neckline. So regardless of the inverse head and shoulders bottoming pattern or not, there is a very well-defined downtrend line that I just showed you that goes all the way back to the left of this chart. So that's one, and I just hit on that only because the alert just came off. Now, speaking of alerts, I had a couple more today. Yesterday, the SEDG solar stock, which again I had a very tight stop because I was worried about a false breakout. Before the stop was triggered, it actually that trade or before it was triggered, I went on to mention that I put up a chart of the USO, the oil ETF, and said that the break in which the USO triangle pattern had would likely determine the success or failure of these solar stock trades. And that was exactly the case. So we had a little whipsaw where we took out the very tight stop. But since then, and this is what I want to point out, still a very, very nice looking trade idea. I'm still long this one. SEDG, very solid breakout today. Volume's a little lacking, but it has broken out. And along with that one, I mentioned another one, both in the trading room and I think on the front page post. And that was CSIQ. And CSIQ is one I took posted taken on the trading room, the break of this minor downtrend line, and it's followed through, and it has taken out the primary downtrend line today. And you can see very beautiful bullish falling wedge. You look at the trend line here and the trend line here, bullish divergence. So that looks good. And again, solar is an alternative energy source. If the price of oil goes up, then solar energy is more cost effective. When the price of oil is down very low, solar as it is costs a lot more. The technology still isn't there to produce per kilowatt or whatever unit of energy you're measuring than does fossil fuels. But as we know, there's a lot of government subsidies and all that. So long story short, just keep it simple. Coal, natural gas, solar, geothermal, they all tend to, there is a correlation there certainly with crude oil. And the solar stocks, whether you want to cite that correlation to oil or not, they are breaking out. You can see there. So there's CSIQ, and I haven't listed all the targets here yet. I just mentioned that as a potential trade idea in the trading room and on the front page. But this would be my first target there, around 15, and then we have resistance here. And again, that's if oil continues to catch a bid. So I'd have to, again, check the volume today. I'd have to compute the volume, but just one to mention there. Let's see, a couple more. I'll go in no particular order here. These are longs or shorts, and I'm going to have to go through a lot faster because I have a lot of names. And if this video gets too long, I'll cut it off. Here's LL, one that was a trade in the past. These are old notes, so just disregard those. But nice breakout today so far. You can see really what I'm watching. See this big gap back here? That defines the top of a very powerful basing pattern. So the stock has been basing throughout since actually the middle of last year. So we have almost a 1-year basing pattern. We had a little false break there, but this so far today is pretty impulsive. I'm not seeing the volume screaming on it yet. So this one I might watch to see if it comes back in. That would be the ideal entry, to wait to see if it comes back in, or wait and see if the breakout even sticks. Wait to see some volume come into the stock. But it's really clear all the way up here to this 2023 level, and possibly more beyond. A lot of these you have to look at the weekly chart to get an idea to where they might be heading. But LL does look, at least so far, pretty good on this breakout today. But again, to chase it right here, already up almost 10%. And again, I'd have to look a little deeper into the chart, 60 minutes and all that. It's just something I have on my watch list. And I will continue to call through these names and add any that stand out. This is one I had, Basic Energy Services, BAS. I had this downtrend line. Big move today, 35% gain. It was up higher at one point. But that's a little stretch to get through there. Also looks like a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. Somewhat, not perfectly symmetrical. You can see the shoulders, head, and breakout, very steep downsloping line. Now, if this one goes, if the energy sector continues to get traction, wrong line. You know, this one's really thin up until here. Thin meaning there's not a lot of resistance. You can look at the volume price histogram. That one could run, and you know, that represents a big move. But again, a little too early. I don't have the confidence yet to either take that personally or add it on. But just one to watch. PIR. This one I'm kicking myself in the butt. I was going to add it here a while back. I've been watching this one. We traded this one. We had a huge trade earlier in the year. I forget what the percentage gain, but it was somewhere probably 50% or more. Hit this. These were the targets on Pier 1. And it came back down to this long-term support level right here. So perfect tag. That was an objective long there. There was divergence set up. You know, flat lines on the PPO and RSI, yet price is making lower lows. That's bullish divergence. And just today it's broken out. You can see the breakout of this descending price channel here. Nice little breakout. So again, like I said, I'll call through these and decide which ones, if any, to make official trade ideas. You can see the very strong divergence on the daily. I'm sorry, the weekly time frame here. With that low, we had made an equal low, double bottom with divergence in place. So, you know, a lot of these I do have to look at the weekly chart. If I didn't do so already, some I already have. And we might find some other reasons not to enter along, or maybe a reason, confirmation to go ahead and enter along. So again, this is sort of a rough sketch. TSRO. Obviously, that looks like a short to me. You can see the bearish rising wedge pattern broke down today. That one looks good to go today. I think it comes down to this level here, to call it the $83 level. And if and when that level goes, which there's a good chance it might, next target would be right here at, you know, set your stops a little above the actual supports around 68.60, which is, you know, that's a pretty hefty move. You know, you get the drop down to here, that's about almost 20%, and all the way down to here is about 33%. All right, that's TSRO. Let's go through some more here, and I'll watch the time and make sure this video doesn't go too long. If it does, I'll cut it off. If I want to get some other trade ideas, maybe add those in a separate one. All right, not sure what happened here. Oh, there's the lines. Ellie May, traded this one in the past. You can look at, it's always any symbol. You can pull that select tag box that's on the front page, a drop-down box, type in the symbols. You'll see the past trades. Done well in this one in the past. We're on a daily time frame. Looks like a nice rising wedge, bearish rising wedge pattern with a breakdown and a back test, which also coincides with a marginal new high. But either way, it's a second consecutive divergent high. Again, this is such a rough checklist that I'll see these things in the charts. I don't have them drawn out, so you'll see me make some annotations as we go on some of these stocks. So that one's back testing, and PPO still pointing up, and to really hone down an entry on a lot of these, I have to look at a 60-minute chart and also confirm with the daily charts again, which I may do. So any of these names you may see pop up as active trade ideas. And again, I'm a little hesitant being super selective right now because of the difficulty, because of the fact the broad market is in that trading range. And as such, that leads to a higher failure rate on breakouts. So I'm sharing these for you guys to pick on the ones that you like and pass on those that you don't. There's one of our cannabis stocks. That's again, I refrain. There's a couple cannabis-related trade ideas that I put out there as official longs, but for the most part, they are such low-priced and high-risk stocks. I have a problem every time. It seems when I record the video, it must be some conflict with the screen recording software in TC2000. Sometimes the charts load really slow. That one's, I've already mentioned it, so I guess by the time I started adding this to the watch list, I did this in the recent videos. That was already discussed. Nice breakout there, and it doesn't look like much because you have this errant candlestick, but when you look at the point where it broke out, that stock is already up, 56%. So again, what looks like a little blurb here is a, 56% gain in just a few days. So tremendous profit in these. Even though I told you I take my position size down accordingly, meaning reduce it much smaller, but 50% gain or 100% gain on a 10 to 20% position size, scaling it down to a fraction what I might normally take, turns out to be the same dollar gains that you would make on a typical swing trade. All right, so there's AXAS. Looks like a bearish rising wedge. Has a little work to be done here. A little bit of work to be done, but it is towards the top of the wedge. So one idea, you can always short top of a wedge. You can wait for a breakdown of the wedge or back test of the wedge. There's many ways to skin a cat, many ways to trade stocks. Just pointing out the pattern if you like it. ACPW. Next up. Active Power. Nice bullish falling wedge. So obviously this is a long trade setup. Watching for a break of this bullish falling wedge. I believe, yep, I do have a price alert set on that. You can see targets would be, this is a penny stock, low price stock. So when you see a stock trading under $1, even under $5, be aware of the risk of that involved and just keep your position size small. But again, as I mentioned, from these, you're taking a small position, but if this one breaks out, it needs to take out about the 35-cent level. And if it does, that first target up here is around 40, that's the actual resistance, 43. That's a 25% gain. My next target there would be 54, which is about a 57% gain. So you can see it's worth your while, even if you're taking a unusually small position size. ASPS. Altisource Portfolio Solutions. You can see this downtrend line right here. Let's color that yellow to have it stand out a little bit. And that one's tapping up against that downtrend line. There's also some horizontal levels there. I probably should make those lines stand out a little less. I'll change the color on that. And, if it breaks above that pattern, that there's just a cluster of resistance right here. So it needs a takeout. To be safe, you might want to wait till 34.65 goes. Although this trend line's a little lower, that could be an early entry. And that one looks clear all the way up to probably that 46.76 level. Not one of my favorites looking at everything down here. And again, I have to look at the weekly chart and some other things to tell you. Yeah, not one of my favorites, but it's on my list. Let's see, PLCE. I think this one already triggered. Yeah, that one triggered. Broke down there, a short trade, bearish rising wedge pattern, confirmed with some very clear divergences. Broke down, and it's hovering on this support level here around 85. I expect this one over time to move down to the $70 level. And, when you see these horizontal lines on my chart, those are support and resistance levels. So I talk about reactions, and this is a reason I set different price targets. Some traders might want to take profits at any of these levels. These are the levels I expect a reaction, and that would be my final target, like I said, around 70. Let's see, MNKD. And this would be a long setup. And again, we have to wait for the slow load times on these trend lines. So what I see here on this one, what stands out to me, This chart's not very clean. I'd like to see that PPO curling up, and I'm using a PPO in lieu of a MACD here because a lot of these stocks I'm looking at have large price ranges, and again, I've talked about this often. The MACD will look very similar. You could put up a MACD and you'll see something similar to that. So you have this, potential divergence. You have a divergent low right there. You have a minor downtrend line here that it could pop above. You have first resistance around 90 cents, and then I'd have to change these targets here. So you have 90, and again, be careful with these low price stocks, and then 131. Some stocks, once they cross below that $1 level, never see it again. They just ultimately fade away and become delisted, and then or file for bankruptcy protection. So there are increased risks with penny stocks, very much so. BITA, I have a question mark on my notepad next to this one. It's a long, and if these charts don't load any faster, I'm going to have to pause it. There it is. Okay. BITA. This one I might have had as an official trade idea, and if I remember correctly, it was, and it went too low before it triggered an entry, and I removed it. Again, if I remember correctly, I'd have to reference the notes, but so far it's playing out. It went back up, took out the trend line. This was an R1 zone. These are old notes on this chart. Found resistance right where it was expected to, then finally, consolidated after the breakout, built up the energy, took out that resistance zone, and we're now currently back testing the top of the resistance zone. So former resistance becomes support once taken out. So now you have a stock trading at the top of a support zone, we call it, and could continue higher. And these would be the next price targets, or the price targets, I should say, from here. Let's see. Next up, Yelp. P. Not my favorite, but it's forming potential divergence. The PPO is curling up, pointing up now. Want to see that turn back down, which it probably will do once and if and when this uptrend line breaks. So you have a stock at resistance. You can see back here, this level defines resistance just above a downtrend line. If and when it breaks that level, the top of the gap right here, right about there, which is 36.26 would be your first target, and ultimately I'd expect at least a gap backfill on this, so that's around 32.36. All right, next up would be CVSI. I think I've already shared this one of the marijuana stocks. Broke out recently, and again, a lot of these I highlight in the trading room. You can see the breakout there, this downtrend line, and it's hard to scale, on these charts, but again, that's about a 21% move so far since the breakout. Nice volume coming in, like a lot of the cannabis stocks. Next up would be SHOS. Sears Hometown and Outlet Stores. Story on this one, you have a test of these recent lows. See the previous reaction low right here? That's where we're at now. We also have a downtrend line, which it broke above, hit resistance, which is this line, fell back, and now it's back testing that downtrend line. So you have intersecting support levels, a downtrend line and horizontal or price support. You have positive divergence. It's not noted here, but you can see the price is making an equal low while the PPO is making a higher low. PPO is curling up. You can see it crossing up bullish right now, or pending a bullish cross. And again, the positive divergence there. And it might be longer term. Well, there's a weekly chart, long term. So it's back testing this downtrend line, which actually goes all the way back here to 2013. So that's SHOS, potential long there with a stop not too far below, maybe on a weekly close. Gives you limited downside and a lot of upside potential because the first target would be back up there around the 690 area and then could go from there. All right, SMH, this one was recently an active trade on the site, which I mentioned. I'm still bearish on the semis. I have had stops set tight on these, and so pushed up since that first breakdown, made a marginal new high, which still has a divergent high, another second, even more powerful divergent top. And again, I'll revisit the semis, both the ETF and some of the individual names that haven't yet, or that were already stopped out. Build-A-Bear, You can see nice, pretty well defined downtrend line right here. Some divergence. That might be confirmed on the 60-minute chart. Let's see here. Yeah, you can see divergence on the 60-minute chart. So you draw a downtrend line like this, and that actually shows a breakout and a back test. And there's the bullish divergence. So there's a trade idea. Again, I'll have to scrub each of these, and if my degree of confidence is high enough, I'll add some of these as official trade ideas or unofficial in the trading room with a little bit more charts, some charts, I should say, mocked up, as well as some notes there. ALDR. ALDR, bearish rising wedge pattern confirmed with negative divergence down below on both the PPOs, Wellesley, RSI here, divergent high. I'd have to give you a target on that one, which I would say would be right about here would be my first target, possibly my only target. When I say first target, if you're some traders, this was brought up in the trading room, why not take quick profits? I list multiple targets, and by all means, if you want to take quick profits, that's the first support level. This is what I usually call S1 on my chart, meaning support 1, a level where I expect a reaction, which is about 29 on this stock, but that's not a lot of meat. That's not how I trade. There's an old adage. There's a lot of adages on Wall Street. Some which are I love, and some which I think are ridiculous. One of those is nobody ever has gone broke taking profits, or you can't go broke taking a profit. Well, that's not true. I can tell you outright that's one that really bothers me, because if you are trading, it's all about your risk to reward ratio. If you take profits every time you have a 3 or 4% gain, but then on your trading patterns like this where you're allowing a 3, 4, 5% loss, well, guess what? You have to have one hell of a success ratio, or you're going to lose money, because you're going to be stopped out for 3 or 4 trades at 5%, and then you're going to make you'll have 1 or 2 or 3 that make 5%. At best, you're going nowhere. So you have to take trades that have a favorable risk to reward ratio, meaning you're going for, I like at least a 3-to-1 or better, where you're going for $3 of profit for every $1 of loss that you're risking. You take a chart pattern like this, and more often than not, given it's been a tough market, but more often than not, bearish rising wedge pattern breaks down, and you're going to look for a move that would measure down to about this level right here. That's the measured target, where you take the widest part of the wedge and put it to where it breaks down. Now, I'll take a measured move into account. I'll look at fibs and some other things. But if I see a support level close by, now we do have support, 2 reactions here, reaction there. This would be my final target on that, which is a little shy of the measured pattern. So I always look at, where the measurement goes, and when in doubt, pick the earlier target. That's usually where you're going to get the reversal. I'm going to stop it here. We're at the coming up on the 28-minute mark. Let me mark my notepad, and I'll just follow up. If you guys like this and you like these videos, I'll do more. Let me know. Give me feedback on the site. If not, if you prefer that I only share the refined trade ideas, the ones that are ready to pop, that I have a higher degree of confidence in, then I keep it simple, and I'll do that. I just, right now, with the market being very difficult to trade in that sideways trading range, again, there's a lot of these unofficial trade ideas, and even more, a lot of the ones that I never even mentioned go on to explode and do great. So if you know what you're doing and you just want ideas and decide which ones to take, I'll do more of these, sharing my watch list with you guys. All right, this has been Randy Finney with the Right Side of the Chart. Hope you enjoyed it.